Welcome back to Angels and Ascended Masters with ZofiaRennea and Psychic Amanda Marquez. We're both mentors at the Ascension School of Spirituality, and this is our new YouTube channel. Today's topic is going to be beginning to understand your gifts and how you receive information, because this is really important to understand. A lot of times we look at people around us and we go, oh, Amanda, she sees things. This is how it needs to be. No, she sees things. Zofia knows things. Zofia feels things, right? Some people hear things. Sometimes you will hear or see or know when that's not your normal channel. And that's okay. It's all perfect what shows up. But I like to go through an exercise that kind of tunes you into what are the gifts that are strongest for you, so you can begin to recognize those and acknowledge those. Because while you're comparing yourself to somebody else and saying, I'm falling short, it doesn't help you move forward. So I like this exercise because it helps to kind of loosen your grasp on that comparison situation and start to sink into, oh, oh, this is my giftedness. Ha ha ha. Are you ladies game for that?
Yeah, that's
Okay,
great.
beautiful. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a little bit of space around ourselves right now. Okay, take a nice deep breath. And if you're watching this video later, you can play right along with us. So just sink into your body, close your eyes, and I'm going to describe a situation for you. And I want you to really pay attention to how you absorb and notice in this field of information. Okay. So I want you to picture being at a beautiful beach. It's an absolutely gorgeous day, and you're visiting with a very dear friend and having the most wonderful time. What is it that makes this visit special for you? Is it how it smells when you're near the water? This is a number one. Is it the sound of the waves as they're coming and going on the beach? That would be a number two. Is it actually being in the water and letting it rock you and ride with the waves? This would be a number three. Is it noticing the progression of the waves, how the tide moves in and out, how the waves follow one after the other in a rhythmic progression? That would be a number four. Is it how you feel emotionally being there, connected with your friend? That's a number five. Is it what the sea air does for you physically, how it makes you feel in your body? That's a number six. Is it simply being part of the nature and the natural world that's taking place on this beach? That's a number seven. Is it noticing how the seagulls move as a group, how they swoop and dive like they're all one consciousness? That's a number eight. Is it observing how other people act on your part of the beach? Are you enthralled with the people watching? That's a number nine. Is it feeling the contagious joy of the kids and the babies and the teenagers at play on the beach? That's a number 10. Is it a real fascination with the distinctive qualities of this particular beach? Because every beach is perfectly, uniquely distinct from another. That's a number 11. Or is it an intense fascination and thrill with how this particular beach looks? Does this interest you as an association? Or do you actually minutely observe the sand and the sea and the waves and the trees? If you are minutely observing like that, that one is number 12. Okay, so open your eyes and rejoin us. And we'll go through them again, and you can tell me which ones you really were resonating with. So get your pen and paper because you're going to want to write down. Okay. So if it was how it smells when you're near the water, that's a number 1. If it was the sound of the waves crashing on the shore, that was a number 2. If it was being in the water and letting it rock you, that was number 3. If it's noticing the progression of the waves and the rhythm of the tide moving in and out, that's a number 4. If it was how you felt emotionally being there with your friend, that's a number 5. If it was what the sea air did for your physicality, for your body, that's number 6. If it's enjoying being part of nature, that's a number 7. If it's noticing how the seagulls move as a group, that's a number 8. If it's the people watching, that's a number 9. If it's the contagious joy of the play of the children, that's a number 10. If it's delighting in the distinctiveness of the beach, that's a number 11. And if it's being absolutely fascinated by the visual qualities of the beach, that's a number 12. You got your list? Okay, beautiful. So, did anyone here have a number 1 on their list?
Is there only one? You choose the
You
top
choose
one?
the ones that resonated with you. You can have more than one. There may be a degree of resonance, and that's an important thing to understand as well.
Okay. So yes, I have the smells.
Yes, you have
It's
the
not my main
smells.
one, but I do have that one.
Yes, so that's a gustatory giftedness. It's also called clairaudience, which is being able to really connect with the essence of how things smell. And so when you're working with your team, for example, and you're seeking information about something, this is one of the things they'll bring to you. So if you get a whiff of a cigar or roses or something like that, it's a deliberate message that they're sending you because this is one of your easy channels to connect through. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Does anybody have a number 2?
That's probably my main one.
That's your strong one. Carol's got it too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Number 2, this is an indication that you have a facility for clairaudience. And so it will be easy for them to call your name, for example, or to tell you, look out or duck or something like that. And so if you hear someone calling your name and no one's calling your name, it's actually your God squad trying to get your attention because you have this ability to hear them easily.
Okay.
All right. Who's got a number 3?
Yeah, I enjoy the feeling of being in the water and riding.
Yeah, exactly. And that's part of the reason your father sends you these energetic hugs because this is clairsentience. And clairsentient people, I'm one of these, is very easy to give us the sensation of fill in the blank, a nice warm hug, the sensation of somebody kicked me in the head. That's not as pleasant, but it's one way that you'll get information. The sensation of somebody's choking me or I've been run over by a car. When you're dealing with people who've crossed over, and death states, a lot of that kind of stuff will tend to show up through that kind of channel because it's easy. Especially if you've got a clairsentient person who doesn't see and hear as easily. Um, it can be a little more challenging gift to work with sometimes. And in those moments, I envy an Amanda who can be shown that, oh, they were hit by a
Yeah.
car.
Much easier.
Yes. Who had a number 4? Was there a number 4 in the bunch? No. Number 4
No.
is analytical awareness. I'll put that out there for the people who are playing along at home because there will be some of those. I have this analytical awareness. It's a form of deeper perception. And so when I work with clients, I like a shit ton of information because I can see those patterns. You know, some psychics you'll go to, it's like, no, don't tell me anything. It's like, no, tell me everything because I will see the pattern in it.
Mm. Okay.
Because I've got that gift of analytical awareness. Who had a number 5? Is there a number 5?
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Number
Mm.
5 is emotional intuition. A lot of people call this empathy. It's a form of emotional empathy. And so this allows you to walk into a room and understand who's feeling good about being there, who's not feeling good about being there, who's going to cooperate with you, who's not going to cooperate with you. It's very useful information when you're working with teams and this sort of thing. So this is a beautiful gift to have, especially when you realize that you have it. A lot of us, and I've got this as well, will be very confused by why our emotions suddenly change on us. And it's not that our emotions have changed, it's that we're receiving the emotions of the people that we've joined in with. And once
Mm.
you begin to understand that some of this is not yours, life gets a whole lot easier.
Yeah.
There are things you
That's a
can
good
do.
awareness. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So that is the emotional intuition. Who had a number 6? No, number
I
6.
guess
You
I
do?
guess I do to some degree. Yeah, like I really love being at the beach, and I do notice how much better I feel when I'm there.
Yeah, that's a form of also empathy, but it's considered physical empathy. It also tends to walk hand in hand with the clairsentience. It's a form of physical intuition. And so, literally, the cells of your body communicate with you what this physical experience is like. People who have this physical empathy, we call them physical empaths, can literally feel what's happening with someone around them. If you like randomly suddenly get a headache, this sort of thing, you're probably picking up what's going on from the people around you. I know when mine opened up for me and mine opened up kind of suddenly, I developed this amazing backache, like right below the rib cage. And I was really perplexed by it for several days until I discovered that my neighbor was having kidney problems. It's like, ah, oh, now I get it. So that's physical intuition. Did somebody have a 7? There's a 7 down there. Beautiful. 7 is a form of environmental empathy. Again, this is empathy, deeper intuition. This is really geared into Mother Nature and the animal kingdom and the plant kingdom. These, I know we talk about them not being sentient beings, but they're sentient beings. Everything around us has a consciousness, and you're dialed into the fact that everything around us has a consciousness. And so your guides will literally send you signs from the animal kingdom, the plant kingdom, because you're dialed in this way. A lot of people who have this environmental empathy will connect with like fairies and sprites and devas, which is the consciousness of nature, literally, right? Everything has a consciousness that causes it to hold the form that it has. And so it's easy for you to dial into that. All right, so that was a number 7. Who has a number 8?
Yeah, I guess I do notice
Okay.
the pattern. Yeah.
Ilaria has a number 8 also. That's wonderful. Number 8 is called animal empathy. This is a more specific form of environmental empathy where you dial in specifically to the awareness of dogs and cats um, and other animals in the animal kingdom. Frequently, when you have this, especially if it's a strong a strong channel for you, you will easily be able to do things like be an animal communicator. And a lot of people are like, well, I don't want to be here to heal the animals. Well, hold on, because the animals will tell you what you need to know about the person who's come to see you. A lot of times when animals misbehave, it's so that their owner will pay attention to what they've been ignoring. And so that's one of the ways that an animal empath actually is a healer of the human, not
Oh, that's
necessarily the
amazing.
animal.
That's totally
So
amazing.
that's a number 8. Did anyone have a number 9?
I
The
do
people
tend to
watching.
people watch no matter where
Oh,
I am. Yeah.
yes. And I feel you on that. I'm
Yeah,
a big people watcher also.
it's fun. Yeah.
This is a form of deeper perception that's called truth knowledge. And it helps you to get straight to the point of why people do the things that they do. Um, and it gives you a lot of insight into the human condition and the human psyche. I, I, I like this one a lot. It's an endless
Mm,
fascination for me. Who has a number 10? Is there a number 10?
yeah.
Yes. Okay. The contagious joy of the babies at play. This is a holistic knowing. This is a gift actually for reading a great many auras at the same time. A lot of times we think of reading auras as, oh, they see color. Not That's not always how they show up. Sometimes you receive the emotional information, the vibrations of the auras, as opposed to the actual color visualization of the aura. So that's what number 10 is about. Who has a number 11?
No, I don't think so.
Nope.
I don't think so.
Okay. Uh, a number 11, delighting in the distinctive qualities of the beach. This is a form of perception of spiritual oneness. Okay. It's an empathic gift of being able to not just see the divine in all things, which is an amazing gift in and of itself, but the specific incarnation of this kind of oneness, if that makes sense. And that's what this particular gift is about. And a number 12. Who had a 12? Anybody? I knew Amanda had a 12. The 12 is actually the one that everybody thinks of when you talk about psychic gifts. It is clairvoyance. And it's a form of deeper perception that allows you to see patterns of light, geometric shapes, spirits, and these sorts of things that other people can't normally perceive. And so that's what a number 12 is about. What I would invite you to do now that you've got your list of goodies, and it's a longer list than you imagined, isn't it?
It is.
Yes. What I invite you to do is kind of sit with that list and go, which are the ones that show up more frequently for me? Because these are going to be your stronger channels. And these are the ones you're going to want to focus on as you're connecting with your higher self, as you're connecting with the members on your God squad. So take a minute and just go, this one and this one, or maybe it's 3 or 4 of them. And while you're connecting, I will share that this particular giftedness quiz is not mine. It's from Rose Rosetree, who's an amazing empath and has written a bunch of wonderful books for empaths out there. Rose Rosetree gets the credit for that one, but it's an amazing tool, so I like to use it. So, Ilaria, what is your observation? Which are your strongest gifts, do you feel?
So this is really making me think. I'm a nurse practitioner, and recently we've been doing a lot more video connect visits because of the pandemic.
Yes.
And I'm having a harder time connecting with my patients or
Mm.
putting a finger, a fine point on a diagnosis or whatever. And I'm aware of the smell thing.
Mm.
So I think that one's, and I've known sound for a long time. And I also have the intuition, the empathy, feeling emotion, not knowing if it's mine or someone else's.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely have that one too. I think those are the main ones. But I also have the analytical thing where, it's as you described what that progression rhythm thing was. I definitely, okay, if I connect those two dots, I want more information. I'll ask a million questions. And then all of a sudden, I know what's going on.
Yeah,
So,
there's the pattern. And I think that's what you're feeling right now with like your video calls with your patients, because you're missing that like physical face to face, I can touch you and feel into your body that you're
absolutely true.
used to having. It's still available to you. It's just a little different when they're distant. And we'll go into that a little more in another segment,
Okay.
but it's still available to you. What did you notice, Carol?
For me, it's the feeling. It is what I see. Like I love seeing what I'm seeing, but it's the feeling of joy and exhilaration and freedom, and of enjoying the being there with sharing the experience with my friend. But it is the sound of the waves, and I guess it's also the smell of the waves as well. But it's definitely the feeling is the strongest.
Yeah, and
And
so
yeah, but the joy comes in with it because it's it's just so magical to be in nature and experience that.
yeah, and so as you're moving forward with your gifts, your mission is to pay attention to what's coming from outside of you feeling wise as opposed to what's coming from inside of you feeling wise. And I would definitely encourage
Yeah.
spending some time with Rose Rosetree. She's got this Empowered Empath series, and the first book in that series will be helpful for you in that exercise. uh,
Okay.
because it's a 30-day workbook. I mean, it's not like you sit down and you read this book. You want to mark off, 20, 30 minutes in your calendar several times a week to like go through the actual exercises, because it'll help you to distinguish what's coming from in you and what you're receiving from outside of you. And
Okay. And when you
that,
speak about coming from outside, is that just information? I suppose you're saying, hey,
well,
like
it's
picking up
you're
the
picking up
aura.
other people's emotions, you're picking up other people's
Mm.
physical sensations in their body. I was talking about the
Okay.
headache. Okay,
Yeah.
you pick up information from like the plants, on the side of the path as you leave the house, this sort of thing. And the more you can discern what's yours and what you're picking up from the environment and be able to identify what's coming from around you, the stronger this is going to get for you. And your team will use that to help guide you, because this is a really super strong channel for you. You've got a lot of different empathy channels turned on, and it can be a
Okay.
huge information overload if you don't learn to discern what's coming from where and what you want to turn up and what you want to turn down.
Okay. Great.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Amanda, did you enjoy that? Did you learn anything about your self-love?
I have like a wide scale that kind of like goes over there. So I don't know. Yeah,
She says
it
up
was
and down
beautiful.
this.
I'm very visual. So when you were doing like the meditation part, like I see all kinds of things in there. So I get sidetracked during meditation. So I saw you on a surfboard in the ocean. So I see crazy things.
I love that. I can see where he would love to surf. That is awesome. Do you have any, what do I want to say? Anything you'd like to have us experience before we wrap up here?
Okay. So I just kind of wanted to go over some things that you could do on your own. Some some exercises. So one of them would be scrying, which I find very valuable. And there's multiple ways for you to go about doing this. This is really going to help you to be able to lift the veil a little bit and
Yeah.
to be able to see the energy and the entities that are already surrounding you.
Share a really simple way to scry. You've been doing this for a while, so it's like, yeah, pick your way to scry. Okay, if you've never scried.
Yeah, so there's several here. We have mirror gazing, which you can get a candle, just like a little tea light, and put it in front of your mirror, and keep like all the other lights off and just focus on your face in the mirror. And this will allow your face to kind of shift, and you'll see different things kind of take place. So when I do it, many times my father's face will come on. I'll grow a beard. So you never quite know what you're going to get. So it's a great way to be able to see what's already with you and somebody that's trying to connect with you. The other one I would say is the night sky, taking some time to meditate outside, lay down and look up into the night sky. You will also find that many times the universe will kind of work for you and bring together maybe a series of clouds that take on different shapes, or you'll start to see the stars move or the moon act weird. But you can get messages in the night sky as well as doing sun gazing. I highly recommend looking into that first. You don't want to just stare at the sun for long periods of time. But
yeah, that's a little hard on the retinas.
yeah. And one of my favorite ways to personally do it is each night before I go to bed, I have an inner monologue inside my head telepathically with the guides. Many times it's going to sound like you're talking to yourself, which is okay, because the more you do this, the stronger your internal communication will become. But have a conversation with, let's just say, a loved one or an angel, and pay attention and look into the darkness around your room, surrounding your bed. And you will oftentimes see just little shadows or little lights kind of floating around. And the more often that you do this, the stronger your gift will become to be able to perceive what's around you. So it started off very subtly for me, and I would see like little flashes of light, but now I see full on apparitions, like people that have passed away dancing around my bed. And each night now, before I go to sleep, I see an angel. It's just like a little light in the outline of an angel, and I won't go to sleep until I see it. But my point here is that the more you do that, the stronger that ability will become. So definitely do some gazing, and don't second guess yourself. If you see something, go with it and have fun with it and talk to it and interact, and try your best not to be afraid of it. They will take it with you, you know, at your own pace, so that it's not something that frightens you, because many times people will get frightened or overwhelmed when they start to see spirits in their rooms. So have fun with them. For me personally, when I see them, when I started to see the full body apparitions, I would run through them like a football player, because it helped me to kind of get rid of that fear and to make it into more of a game. And so now we like laugh together and stuff. So try to get over that fear, and then that's when those perceptions will really start to become stronger for you.
I love
Great
that.
suggestions.
I,
Thank you.
as a clairsentient and a claircognizant, I will put out there uh, to do the exercise that she suggested, but to release the expectation that what you will get is necessarily vision, right? Because your guides are going to work with your strongest channel. And so if you have vision available as your strongest channel or one of your two strongest channel, yeah, you'll probably get that. If you're like me, probably what you will get is a sensation or a knowing, or if you have clairaudience, you might hear some words or someone talk to you, a phrase. Whatever shows up for you as you go through this exercise, it's perfect. So don't get hung up on I didn't see the fairy. That's okay.
That's good advice. Okay. Thanks for adding that.
Any questions before we wrap this section up?
I have a
Do we
question.
need to? Sorry, go ahead, Ilaria.
Okay,
You
thank
go
you.
first.
I just wondered if, so sometimes I hear song lyrics, and I wonder if, and I sometimes do get messages from that, you know?
Oh yeah.
I mean,
They will totally
okay.
use that
Thank
all the time. I think of it as like divine radio. And so I pay attention to that now. If some car, drives by blaring something and I notice that, there's a reason I tuned into that. If I walk into Walmart and, they're playing Just Let It Go, Say Goodbye, okay, I will look at what was I thinking in the moment that song arrived for me. And if I was, what do I want to say, obsessing on something that had happened earlier in the day, well, guess what? That's the divine coming in and saying, let it go already.
That's great.
I definitely wanted to add to that and say that when you're getting those songs in there, many times you'll just hear pieces of the lyrics, and it's important to go online and get the whole song because there will be messages hidden in the whole format of the entire song. So take it a step further as well. Many times you'll also hear random words that you may not understand and things like that. So go and look up the meaning behind those words. I sometimes hear like Bible verses or get different numbers. So you always want to take it a step further and do the research on that so you can get the full message in its entirety.
Yeah, especially when it's a repeated thing, right? So if you've got 1111 showing up all the time, go look that up and look at more than one interpretation of it. Excuse me, I got to
What
look
if
at more than one interpretation, right? Because it always comes through filters. And so you kind of want to get all the aspects of it. We talked about filters in the last one.
Yeah, and I guess the ones that mean the most or feel the most right are the ones that you're supposed to take from it.
Absolutely. Especially when
Okay.
you're clairsentient, when the right one arrives, you'll feel it literally in your body, in your
Okay.
emotions. There'll be a lightness that comes with it.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah.
If you're visual, the right one will jump out at you from the page, or it'll light up or glow or whatever. Everybody kind of has their own thing that happens. So pay attention to those as you're going through the different interpretations. And it's like,
Okay.
oh, that one right there. That's the one.
Okay. Yeah, because I often see like a lot of angel numbers, and I feel like it's not necessarily always related to what I'm thinking, although I think sometimes it is. Sometimes I feel like it's more like, I guess I'm on track. I feel like I see a lot more of them when I'm going in a particular direction. So
Yeah.
it's kind of an indication, or just for fun sometimes too, just reminding me that my God team's there.
Yeah, exactly.
I really enjoy
Exactly.
it. The one thing I wanted to ask you.
Yeah.
No, so go ahead and then
Well,
I'll ask you.
let me finish my thought here. When it comes to like On Track and messengers, there are things that they will send you, and we all have our particular thing for this. You're on track, keep going. You're on track, keep going. The 1111 shows up for me when I'm on track, keep going. Sevens show up when I'm like in a space where it's like I know I'm trying to bust through to another level, but I'm not quite there yet. And so the sevens will show up as, you're getting there. Just keep on. You're headed the right way. The other thing that shows up for me are animal messengers that are like go ahead signs. And for me, my go ahead signs on the right track are butterflies and hummingbirds. And in fact, before I started my radio show, I'd been told, and it's unusual for me because I don't usually hear voices, but I'd been told you're going to do a radio show. And the type A in me said, okay, I'm going to go out and I'm going to find a producer and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And it didn't work at all. And so I kind of let it go. And 3 years later, someone I had talked to from that time called me up and said, hey, where you at? What's going on? I'm like, you know what? I'm just down the road from you. It's like, why don't we get together and have lunch? We both had the same empty day on the calendar. I showed up in his office and he's got this photograph that's like a foot by 6 inches. It's a pretty big photograph of a close-up of a hummingbird on his desk. It's like, okay, so I guess now is the time. And the ironic thing, or the synchronistic thing, not even ironic, it's not something he normally keeps on his desk. He'd purchased it for his wife and picked it up that day, which is why it happened to be on his desk.
That's amazing.
So yeah, they don't always show up in the flesh, but they will show up virtually sometimes. So what was your question, my love, now that I've finished my little story?
you've just made me think of another question, but I'll just, the first one was when you're connecting to the guides and starting those conversations, do you need to set an intention to connect to benevolent guides, or is that not necessarily really any longer?
We will get to that in the next section. How's that?
Okay, perfect. I just had a really vivid dream a couple of weeks ago where two jaguars appeared, and they walked right up to me from two different directions and stood right in front of me with their faces like right in front of me. And I remember being like slightly afraid initially because they were just so powerful and so, so visceral, like you could just sense their presence. But something in me just made me like stroke both of their heads, and they just melted into pussycats. Like they were just so purring and just delighted with it. But how do you know what the significance is of something like that happening?
Generally what I do, there are a few places I go. Amanda can fill in how she does this. When I get something like that, the first thing I look into is what was my emotional and visceral response throughout the interaction, because that's messages to me. I'm sentient, so that's a way they're going to use. The other thing I will use is Professor Google. And I will do animal medicine jaguar or something along those lines. The spiritual significance of jaguars. There are a number of ways that you can Google that. And then I look through what's out there and I pay attention to what feels right to me, what feels full and light. Other people, it might jump off the page or shine or whatever it is. And
Okay.
that's another piece to it.
Okay.
How do you interpret your dreams and these sorts of interactions, Amanda?
Well, just using that one for example, the way the Jaguars showed up very strong, and almost overpowering at first, it was almost like you having to stand up and find your courage. And then realizing that everything that's surface level kind of scary or intimidating is not necessarily like that in reality. So that's why they became much more docile and gentle. So it's really about you facing like issues that may be coming towards you that may seem very scary, and understanding that it's not going to be exactly what you perceive it to be.
Yeah.
But much like Zofia said, I do look up the actual animal message on Google as well, but you can also pull from whatever you're feeling intuitively to kind of decipher that message, because spirit will talk to you in a way that resonates with you. They will show you things and they understand that you will understand it in your own way. So that's why they're showing it to you in that way. So you really have to decipher it a little bit
Listen
yourself.
in.
Yeah.
Okay.
The
Thanks.
thing that popped out of that for me, again, patterns, right, is that they responded in kind.
Yeah.
Okay. And so you didn't choose to try to be aggressive to them or run them off. You chose to reach out and stroke them and to share love with them. And they responded in that same way. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
Wonderful.
Nice insights from both of you.
Any more questions before we wrap this one up and we move into the next one where we actually go do this?
I think I'm good.
Okay, fabulous. So thank you for joining us today, and stay tuned for the third segment because we're going to actually go do this.